for this card, I'm using the 6x6 True Love paper pad by Basic Grey. And you can see from the Post-it note that I just stuck on there, I had every intention of using this paper to make a Valentine's Day card, and I just never got around to it. So I'm going to end up using a different sentiment. And what I do with my 6x6 pads is I draw a little sketch when I have an idea, and I just throw it in a basket. When I get around to making it, I make it. So for this card, I'm going to end up cutting a bunch of strips of copy paper, or excuse me, pattern paper, and taping it down to a piece of copy paper to make like a new pattern paper or a piece together piece of pattern paper. So I have all those pieces of paper taped down and trimmed up, and in typical fashion, I never put anything on straight the first time around, and I have to rip it up and put it back down. But I'm going to end up taking this to my sewing machine and stitching around. And I've shown this before. What I do is I stitch the paper and pull the strings through the back and tape them down so that it looks like a continuous stitch from the front. Now, on my original idea, I was going to cut out these little hearts to put on the front, but the pattern paper was already busy enough. It really didn't need any help. So I'm just going to adhere this teal piece of cardstock down to my card base to basically mount that piece I've just created on. And I'm going to end up cutting this apart 2 or 3 times before this video is over with, because for some reason it just doesn't sit right. I kind of regretted it after I did it, but I think the end product turned out just fine. Like I said before, my intention was to make this a Valentine's Day card, so I pulled out this set with the intention of using that Happy Valentine's Day stamp. And you kind of see me twiddling around, and I'm actually looking through some other stamp sets for something else to use, and I opted just to use the Celebrate Every Day that was at the top, so that I could just make this a nice generic card, because for some reason I always have plenty of birthday cards and thank you cards, but I never have just a note card. Most of the time with bows, I use the cheater method. I just tape on the back piece, and then I end up tying a bow on the front, and that's what you see me doing here. I can tie a bow, it just takes me forever, and you're going to see this, the fact that it takes forever right here. And I fiddled with this for a while, and then I ended up deciding that a regular bow was too big, and I ended up just doing a simple knot. See that where I ended up cutting that teal piece down from the card base it once was, and after the fact, like I said, I kind of regretted it, but I ended up just going with it because once it's cut, it's done. So I mounted that onto the white card base, and I ended up embossing my sentiment in white on that pink colored cardstock. And I could have used a like a square punch to make my fishtails, but I wanted them to be really shallow, so I ended up just sketching them and cutting them by hand. And surprisingly, it turned out okay, because normally what ends up happening is I end up hacking the piece so small that I end up having to re-emboss and redo it. But I'm just adhering the back of that card, or that embellished piece, down and pop dotting up my sentiment, and then I'm done.